You're listening to the Patriot Nation podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation podcast. As always, your guy, Pat Lane, here with my man, Matt St. Jean. And Matt, you're back. You're back in the saddle after having to endure being in the stadium for that just absolute garbage experience on Thursday night. And we were talking about before air here. You might be banned from all future Patriots games. The way the last few games you've been at it have turned out.
Yeah, it's not great. It's a combined score of, I believe, 58-3 against the Patriots in the last two games I've been in. It's the Saints game last year, a 34-0 home loss, and it's 24-3 road loss. Yeah, I will cry. Like the environment was fantastic. The crowd was into it. Usually, the way things have been, the Patriots shut down that crowd, and that's always fun. It's not the year for that, and not the game for that. But, I got to be there in person for Drake Maye's first NFL snap, and I think that alone is worth the price of admission if he ends up being what we think he could be.
It's a great point. That is a great point right there. What's interesting about it, too, for me is, like, that could be a moment that you look back and you're like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I was there for that, which is kind of cool. So, just, man. An absolute doozy of a game, unfortunately, and just kind of went wrong pretty early in that game. I feel like they couldn't do anything. Also, before we get started, too, I also want to give a quick shout out to Murph. Murph was on the show with us Thursday night, pinch hitting for Matt, and this weekend was in a pretty bad car accident. Luckily, he's okay. I don't know if he's 100. I don't know if he's out of the hospital yet, but he is tweeting. Back to tweeting again.
He's tweeting.
Said good afternoon to everyone today and whatnot. So. Which is a good sign. So yeah, we're thinking of you, Murph, and sending our best wishes your way. But it seems like you're well on the road to recovery, because of course he is. Big tough guy like that, of course.
And shout out to the Butchie for helping him out of that situation. So
that's right.
And thanks, Murph, for filling in for me Thursday night as well. Obviously sending all our love over to that whole family, and hopefully the Pats can get a W this weekend for him. I don't know. It might be a tough ask, but I will say Pats 10-point underdogs this weekend. Since 2000, somebody tweeted this out. They've been 10-point underdogs 4 times, and they are 2-2 in those games. Now, the two wins.
Tell the story. Why are they 2-2?
They're 2-2. The 2 wins were both of the games against the Colts in Brady's first year as a starter in 2001.
Right.
One of them being his first game as a starter, and the other one being 3 weeks later. The other 2 games were recent.
Yeah,
one of them was 2020,
and they covered one of them. They did cover one of them.
Yes.
I forget the.
One was the Chiefs game on the road in 2020. They did not cover.
Right.
26-10 was the final, and the other one might have been. Oh, that one was the game up in Buffalo at the end of last year.
Right.
Covered.
Yeah. True. Yep. So, maybe they'll cover, maybe they won't. I mean, look, this is a situation where I feel like all the everything's kind of lining up against the Patriots right now. Now, the nice thing about it is that the thing about it for the Patriots is that Debo looks like he's still not playing. Ayuk is going to play again, I'm fairly certain, but he hasn't been the same since he came back. Juwan Jennings, of course, had a great game last week, so maybe he'll do that again this week. Kittle might play, might not play. It's very up in the air right now. Brock Purdy was a full participant, but is on the list as well. And so everyone's kind of banged up right now over in San Fran. Trent Williams didn't practice today. Might limited. Was he limited today? Or did he not practice today?
No participation.
That's what I thought. Didn't practice today. And Kittle didn't practice today either, right? They think he might be back, but I don't think he practiced today.
He was a limited participant. He was their only limited participant.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was someone else that didn't participate as well with him, but I don't remember who it was. But either way,
Javon Hargrave.
Hargrave, that's the one I was thinking of. Thank you. Yep. So the two big linemen there both didn't participate in practice. Of course, one on the offensive side, one on the defensive side. Those things line up as good things for the Patriots. Now, again, is that enough to overcome what is a significantly better team? Right? There is a large talent gap between the Patriots and the Niners, right? And so, is that enough with some of their guys banged up when some of your guys are banged up too? I don't know. But at least you have that going for you. The other problem is that you have is that they're pissed off. They're coming off a bad loss, a game they probably should have won and they lost anyways. And so they're going to be pissed. They're going to be fired up. They're going to be ready to go. And that that just makes it more difficult to play against them. That's all.
You mentioned the injuries. I obviously Christian McCaffrey on injured reserve. Just a couple other names of note. John Feliciano is on IR for them. He's one of their interior offensive linemen. Embry Thomas, who's one of their corners. They're both out. Dre Greenlaw is on the PUP list, as is Drake Jackson, 2 front 7 guys for them. And Ricky Pearsall still recovering from being shot in what was a crazy situation earlier this year. He's on the non-football injury list. So a lot of guys down for San Francisco right now. But yeah, like you said, talent differential is big. I want to go back to last Thursday night here to talk about this and kind of talk about that. I haven't gotten to talk about that game at all.
Yeah.
It was. There's a lot of things to be concerned about what we saw. I will start out by saying that we didn't think this team was going to be good, and teams that aren't good, even if they overperform, are going to have some really ugly moments. You go back to that 2020 team, nobody thought was going to be good and still won 7 games. They also had a 24-3 Thursday night football game lost. They looked completely and entirely overmatched against the Rams. They couldn't do anything in that game. Right. And that was just a couple days after they beat the Stockings off the Chargers in that one, with Gunnar Olszewski getting an offensive touchdown. Like, that was that kind of game. And yeah, it just didn't matter because the Rams were that much better on short rest there. So, this game might be one game. It might be a sign of things to come. We're going to find out. Defensively, I think they got kind of put in a tough spot here. A lot has been made this week about not containing the edge. I think they should have adjusted better in game. What did we talk about, though, on the pregame show? Aaron Rodgers was not mobile the first 2 weeks of the season. He couldn't throw on the run the first 2 weeks of the season. Right. Going out there with a game plan of trying to rush him and trying to make him make throws on the run. Yeah, let's make the 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles tear who hasn't been mobile make plays against us on the run. They did it. He made the plays. Sometimes that happens. What concerned me, the interior of the defensive line was not good. And they missed Jawan Bentley. Raekwon McMillan did not have a good game. The Jets were able to run the ball on you, and that's where things get rough because they'll run it on you, and then they'll go quick game. Right. And for all the issues with Aaron Rodgers, his brain is still sharp in football terms. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they go quick game on you. They spread you out. You have to play something simple coverage-wise. He looks at what you're playing. He changes the play at the line to something that's going to beat it, and then he throws it. And that was kind of what they did all night long when they were throwing the ball. And I think that my frustration with the New England defense through 3 games is that their pass coverage has been pretty simple. They run a lot of just regular cover 2. And that's fine if you're going to use that as your changeup. But they're using it as their fastball right now. And you can't get away with that in the NFL in 2024 doing that. You just can't. You have to have more. So I'm hoping that was a short week thing and we see the defense evolve more this week.
And the concerning thing for me, right, is that you look at what they did against Seattle, right? And Seattle, I think, to me, is the perfect case study as to what the Patriots and what I'm concerned about defensively and schematically wise. Their game plan against Seattle was keep everything in front of you. Don't let anyone beat you. Now, of course, they had a miscommunication and got beat deep by DK with no one covering for a long touchdown. But, you just let them complete every single pass that they wanted to complete, right? And Geno was great. And it was like, hey, Geno didn't make a mistake. And so I guess maybe they thought we're just going to force him to make a mistake. He's going to make a mistake on his own. But you play this kind of shell defense where you give up that underneath pass, and it just feels like it's there, and it feels like it's been there for anyone that can take advantage of it all season long. And of course, it's only 3 games, but for all 3 games, and you just wonder, like, can we see something different? Can we see like some exotic stuff? And we haven't seen a lot of that yet. Now, maybe it's coming, and maybe we're just not there yet at that point. Maybe they think that the guys aren't ready for it. Maybe they think that, the guys they have out there can't do it. I don't know. But, like, there's been some injuries on the front 7. There hasn't really been any injuries in the back. And so the guys are the guys, right? Like, you got to be able to run stuff at some point. And, so we'll see what happens this week. You got a mini bye before this week. You can put some new things in, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from here. The interesting thing about this week is that you get 2 straight home games. Then you're in London. Then you got another home game. So over this next stretch here, you got a fair amount of games that are at home. And of course, you're traveling, to London, but that's a neutral site game. You're not really on the road in that situation.
There's
right?
going to be a lot of Patriots fans there, so that'll be a friendly environment.
Absolutely, right. And so, so we'll see. But I just, I wonder how they're going to perform, and we're going to talk about it too. But I wonder offensively who's going to be under center.
And we'll get but with the defense. I do think the reason I'm not going to jump to too many conclusions with the back end quite yet is that the cover 2 stuff makes a ton of sense against Joe Burrow, especially with who they had out there. I like that game plan. And for Seattle, I think it's a little bit tough to tell what they're going to run, but I also think the cover 2 stuff made sense there, and they brought some exotic stuff out of it. Like, some of it was exotic cover 2 blitzes, which I like. Mm-hmm. It's just Gino kind of just beat him. And it's possible that what they ran into here was a quarterback playing at the top of his game right now, and Geno Smith, who's playing like a top 10 quarterback, which is crazy to hear those words come out of my mouth. But he's doing it, and he played really well, and sometimes that happens. And then it's a short week where you're not going to have time to make a ton of adjustments, and you also are going against, I think that the issue was the inability to stop the run, which was cascading into some situations where the Jets could dictate what they wanted to do in the passing game. Right. And that's just not a spot where you want to be. Like, I don't care what coverages you want to run. If Aaron Rodgers is forcing you to dictate what you're going to do, you're going to have a bad time. He's smart. He will beat you. So many of the plays, like they were getting tight ends that they liked matched up one-on-one with Jelani Tavai in the middle of the field when he has multiple responsibilities, things like that. Like, it's not any one player's fault. It's a scheme thing that Aaron Rodgers is beating you by making the right calls at the line, and he does that.
Right.
So I personally would have liked to see more man coverage, more physicality from the defense as a whole. I don't know why they didn't play more man. I do think the physicality was something to do with the short week. Early season conditioning is not where it needs to be yet. I think that's probably a lot of the tackling too. So I'm not going to be concerned about that unless it becomes a pattern. Let's see how they look when they go out west here, because this is a San Francisco offense that has been one of the best designed in the NFL over the past 5 years. But that also I don't think has been quite as good as people have expected at the start of this season. That the receivers haven't been getting as open. It's a lot of what they did was with stuff in game 1, were they able to shred that Jets defense, and that was like, I don't know, with Debo, that was a different group. In week 1, weird things happened. So I think you if you reassert yourself as a physical unit this week and you play with discipline, like we saw the team do in the first 2 weeks, defensively you can be competitive and you can ease the doubts that we saw today, or not today, last week. I'm still not going to be in full alarm mode if it looks bad on Sunday, because San Francisco still is very well schemed. DeMarcus Covington is young, and they don't have Bentley, and they don't have Barmore, and those are 2 of your key pieces in the front 7, which is huge against a team like San Francisco.
Right.
But if they still can't tackle and they still can't cover against Miami, that's where the alarm bells are really going to start going off for me.
Absolutely.
Especially with whoever they're going to put in at quarterback.
Well, and that's the thing, right, is that, the tackling, and James mentioned the tackling in the chat, mentioned the tackling that, would just evaporated, right? Which it did. I mean, it's a good word for it. Like, all of a sudden they couldn't tackle anyone. and old man Mob, you mentioned it too, but like not being able to contain the QB was an issue. It was an issue in back-to-back weeks. It was an issue against Geno Smith as well. And Brock Purdy is not the most mobile guy in the world, but he has done a really nice job at extending plays, and buying more time for other guys. So he's not going to take off and run down the field, but he is going to buy time back there. And he's had some ridiculous plays where he just ran around and got the guys open, right, and then made a nice pass to get it there.
He plays like Mahomes does. It's just like almost with the athleticism. He's like a twitched up Bailey Zappi in terms of athleticism.
That's a good way to put it.
But smart and with the mindset of a Patrick Mahomes, which is a really strange combination, which I also think is why the discourse around him is so weird because he's so hard to evaluate.
He really is. And so, look, you're playing a good San Fran offense. I know guys are out, but Juwan Jennings he's a man now. He's a man. That dude's a beast. He was always good on third down the last few years. And, he finally got a start, and you got to see what he could do yesterday. 3 touchdown catches on Sunday. He was incredible, right? So I do think that he's a guy that is a problem, right? Now, he's obviously, you get guys out. Debo not being there is helpful for the Patriots, but it's like they still have guys. And that's the way I look at it, at least. And so defensively, are they going to hold up against San Fran over the course of the game? Probably not. At least not for the whole game. But at least they have a chance, I think, to be okay against San Fran and do a decent enough job at slowing them down. Again, whether they stop or not, I don't know. I'm not sure what the line is of the over/under is concerned, but I wouldn't necessarily be taking the over in this game. So we'll see.
Yeah, it was the thing about the Jets game is that I think the point total allowed is a little misleading.
Right.
The Jets were able to control a game. I think over 40 minutes of time of possession, 27 first downs, I believe, was the final total. I don't know if you'd mentioned it on the post-game show, but that was the most since the Bengals game in 2022.
Yeah.
And like the Pats-Bills playoff game, what we all remember was a defensive meltdown. They allowed 29 first downs. This is that territory.
Yeah,
like that's just, and it was they just were too soft all around and not smart enough, not disciplined enough, didn't tackle well enough. Across the board, they did not play smart or good football. I'm hopeful that it is a 1 week thing, but offensively, I think you can't do much with the way the offensive line looks right now. I don't think the quarterback is helping that situation, but all 5 guys on the line look slow. Every single one of them. The technique doesn't look sound. The awareness does not seem to be there. It's twists and stunts. It has been for a little bit now.
Yeah.
When it's a passing situation and the defensive lineman can play games and manipulate the offensive line, our guys have not had the awareness to pick it up. And it's a combination of things. You have to play at the right depth. So, like, if you know that this is a possibility, if it's the left tackle and the left guard, they have to be at roughly the same depth so that if the defensive players switch, they can pass off who they're blocking and be on the same page. That hasn't just the only guy who I think I saw on tape consistently looking to actually pass off rushers and make it work, like making an active effort to do it, has been Michael Jordan, who I would argue has been their best pass blocking offensive lineman through 3 weeks this season.
Which is crazy.
Like we're at a point, like, I hate to say it, but I almost feel like Layden Robinson is unplayable in some ways right now with how he is as a pass blocker. Like, I like him as a run blocker, but man, some of these hiccups as a pass blocker, I don't know if it's the type of thing where you can put him out there and have him play and develop through it. Like City So is supposed to come back this week. I don't know what the offensive line is exactly going to look like, but I think there is some concern here that if they try to run the same type of offensive line and they're just swapping out City So for where Michael Jordan was, you might net be worse as a pass blocking unit with how So was last year, because his biggest issue as a pass blocker was passing off twists and stunts.
Right.
And now you're gonna have guys right now, like they can't do it on the right side because Layden Robinson is not that good at it, and Michael Onwenu gets beat around the edge, and anybody they put on the left side can't do it except for Michael Jordan. So if none of your guards and tackles can handle a twist or a stun, you can't throw the ball.
It's not good.
No.
Yeah. You know, look, my biggest thing is that I believe that when Vidarian Lowe comes back healthy, and I don't know when that's going to be, I assume next week. They didn't put him on IR. So my assumption is that he'll be back next week. I might be wrong about that, but like
he didn't participate. He and Michael Jordan both did not participate in practice today.
Right. So my thought is that maybe he'll be back next week. When Vidarian Lowe comes back and is ready to practice and is ready to play, he should be your starting left tackle. Caden Wall should be your starting right tackle, and Michael Onwenu should be your starting right guard. Because what I've seen of Onwenu at right tackle, you simply can't. You can't do it. You can't have him out there because and here's the issue. And you mentioned Layden Robinson. Like Layden Robinson struggled against the pass too. So now you're talking about your right tackle can't block against the pass. Your right guard can't block against the pass. What you've done is you've taken a really good right guard and made him a mediocre to below average right tackle. We can't have that, man. Like, we can't have that. And so I'm kicking Mike Onwenu back inside. Mm-hmm. And Caden Wallace at right tackle may not be ideal. You may not love Caden Wallace at right tackle. He may not be the long-term solution there. But two things. Number one, he's a rookie, right? And the assumption is that you're going to draft a left tackle next year, in next year's draft in the first round, in the top 10, wherever you end up drafting, but most likely in the top 10. So, fine. Well, wouldn't you want to know if Caden Wallace can be your right tackle of the future? And maybe he can't be, right? But don't you want to find that out, right? And if you can put him in there, you don't have any better options now. Now you're at this point where it's like we can't trust anyone else. So put him over at right tackle, see what you got there, and then maybe you're like, you know what? Him at right tackle next to Onwenu at right guard isn't bad. It might not be perfect, but it isn't bad. You know, and now we feel good about, okay, we get a left tackle next year. We feel okay about most of our offensive line, you know?
Yeah. There's also a world here where I would consider for now a left side of Lowe and Jordan and then a right side of So and Onwenu, with Onwenu still at tackle.
Yeah.
He does not look great at tackle. He has some real issues there. I think he's going to be better inside. But I would understand if they said we want to give this more time to see if he plays through it. Because if Onwenu can be a good tackle for you, then that helps you out a lot. He just looked rough there. I don't think the play calling has helped him either.
No.
A number of times they're calling 7-step drop or 5-step drop out of shotgun with play action, these big plays. And neither one of the tackles you're playing can handle speed around the edge. Why are you having the quarterback drop back so far where it's a much easier path for pass rushers? This makes no sense to me. So I question Alex Van Pelt there because that doesn't really seem to make sense. And when they get under center, it's either a run or it's play action. So defenses, the first 2 weeks, you don't have a tendency on it. Now there's a tendency on it. So you get into that situation and teams are just going to blitz the hell out of you.
Right.
Because Jacoby Brissett hasn't completed a deep pass all year, which I think negates any advantage you have in the running game. That puts you in a really tough spot where you can't just run the ball you did week one. It seems they're going to stack the box and be hyper aggressive towards you. The Jets team that never blitzed on a quarter of the snaps.
Yeah.
On last Thursday, and that's it's including a lot of snaps that were garbage time with Drake Maye in there. I don't really think they were blitzing. So it's a lot. It's more than that they were really blitzing and real things, and it's just not sustainable.
Right.
You have to find other ways to gain yards, and I think they tried, and the Jets just didn't respect anything they did and blew right through it. The execution wasn't good enough. The play calling wasn't where it needed to be. Quarterback play was not where it needed to be. Brissett didn't have a ton of opportunities, but he had one early in the game. The opportunity to have a deep shot to Austin Hooper. Hooper's wide open.
Got to hit it.
He misses the throw. And the margins for error are so thin with this team. Most teams, you miss one deep pass and it isn't that big of a deal because there will be others. There aren't others with this team, so you have to hit those. And It's going to stand out even more. So I just, before we keep going with this, somebody in the chat somewhere had mentioned I mentioned David Andrews. David Andrews looks rough
old
this year.
Yeah.
To the point where when I couldn't sleep the other night, I was watching 2023 Cole Strange film, like to see what could this help. For some context here, obviously, grain of salt, it's a PFF grade, but Cole Strange's PFF grade last season would make him the best offensive lineman on this team right now.
I mean,
And
I can't say it's super surprising. They've just
no, and
offensively, it's been bad.
And they could. I think that Cole Strange would help this team out a lot, even if he isn't that good, because he's mobile and he allows you to do some of the things. Like that's one of the big issues right now is nobody's mobile. They're one of the plays with Drake Maye late. They're calling a screen pass to Antonio Gibson, and right away it has no chance because Leighton Robinson doesn't have the speed to get where he needs to be to block someone, and it's blown up. And I don't know. I question the front office a little bit here too, because I don't know how you can expect to play this style of offense with big lumbering offensive linemen.
Right.
And
it just
and that's why I said it's when they hired Alex Van Pelt, something like Antonio Mafi, writing's on the wall that he's not going to have a role because he's a big lumbering offensive lineman who doesn't fit this scheme.
Right.
But then you draft big power tackle, big power guard,
right,
and it makes me wonder what the plan is.
Yeah, and this has kind of been the trend now for the last few years, where you look at it and say, like, what is the plan? Do we have a plan?
Yeah.
And if we have a plan, what the hell is it? Like, we're all over the map with offensive weapons. We're all over the map with offensive linemen. Like, you're looking around, like, what the hell? What are we trying to do? Right? What's the point? What do we? And so, like, I just, it's frustrating. And again, I think when you look at, and No Man Mob is asked, and, is it time to change the offensive play system? I think it is. I think that what they're doing right now isn't working. You can't take those long, drawn-out drops where you're running deep pattern. You just can't do it. You can't do it. You can't block those guys. Your offensive line cannot block for that long, extended period of time. You have to get the ball out quick. Get the ball out, because let me tell you something. If I were a defensive coordinator playing against this team, I'd blitz them on every play. I'd blitz every damn play. Go ahead. What are you gonna do? Beat me? You gonna throw on me? I'm gonna blitz you and you're gonna throw? Come on. No, you're not. We all know you're not gonna throw. And go ahead, throw. Great. You gotta complete it to Jalen Polk for 4 yards and to get tackled. Great. Good luck. What are you gonna do? Oh, you're gonna hit a deep shot.
You're gonna throw it over the head of Tyquan Thornton.
Right. You're gonna hit deep shot to Tyquan Thornton. Please. Like, anyone really is gonna believe that. Right. And so right now it's like, you got to run some quick, just start getting the ball out quick, man. Run quick slants and run screens and bubble screens and get the ball. I mean, they tried to do that with Pop a little bit on Thursday night to get him the ball. And I think it worked a little bit, but like, I don't know. You got to do more of it. You got to get the ball out quickly. The ball's got to come out. You can't be running these long, extended routes.
Yeah.
And, we'll see. We'll see. It's frustrating.
There was a play early in the third quarter where Jacoby Brissett essentially gets high load and demolished on a third down. He gets the ball out.
Yeah.
But this is the play that stood out to me because it's third and medium. I think it was 3rd and 4. And you're calling a 5-step drop play action out of the gun. And really, in that situation, your primary target is going to be Pop Douglas, who's running just a drag route across the field. And it's man coverage. Pop Douglas is open, running across the field. It's a 3rd and 4. You hit him on it. You hope he can get away from the guy and get enough to pick up the first. And I question a lot of things about this. My first thing is, why are you calling play action 5-step drop out of the gun on 3rd down with this offensive line? That first of all just doesn't make any sense to me, because that's asking for trouble. But beyond that, like, the whole offense is supposed to be timing based with the footwork. So if it's a 5-step drop, and in that situation, you're anticipating an intermediate or a deep shot of some kind. You're giving time for a route to come open down the field. Which I get. Like, they had a deeper route from KJ Osborne that I think may have been the designed thing for that play. Why are you calling that play in that situation? Because it's clear given the situation and what's going on. You're not going to have a lot of time to throw. If it's man coverage, you're going to have Pop Douglas crossing somebody's face and running across the field, and that's going to be your best chance for a first down. So what is the thought process here? This doesn't match up. And for someone like Brissett, obviously, I don't think you can go against the coaches and just not drop back. But for him, it's like you should catch the ball and stand still and then throw it. Like, don't drop back because that's going to make it worse. And I was watching Cole Strange film. I was watching just some of the old offense. I was watching the Steelers game from last year, and the number of times Bailey Zappe's in the gun and he takes a snap. He's taking one step, maybe two steps backwards, or just standing still and throwing the ball.
Yep.
That is easier for this offensive line, particularly the tackles, to handle. And on one hand, it's tough to ask your offensive coordinator to completely abandon this timing-based footwork system early on, especially when you're developing a young quarterback to try to be in that and all that stuff. I don't know if this is workable right now. I think you have to just switch to more of the spread stuff if you're going to throw the ball and hope that works.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see, man. It's a mess. All right, let's do an ad read, and then we'll come back and talk just a little bit more about this terrible offense. Of course, our first ad read is about Prize Picks. So Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Now, last weekend of this, one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks. That's every week of September, which makes this the last weekend. So get in on that, because only one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win. You need 2 wins to win. You get 1 automatically. So take advantage of that. You can also win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. So 4 things right, 100 times your money. Works out. Okay. Now for this week, here's what I'm doing for this week. Okay. Listen, I'm using the Caleb Williams. You got to use the Caleb Williams more than 0.5 passing yards. I'm also going A.T. Perry for less than 28.5 passing yards. Who the hell is A.T. Perry? If you follow the draft, you should know who A.T. Perry is. But A.T. Perry is a wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints. I'm going for less than 28.5 receiving yards. And Devontae Adams, seemingly called out by his coach on Sunday for more than 5 receptions for Devontae Adams. So I think he's going to be a big part of that game plan. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't have to win. You just have to play to get those $50. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right. So, old man mom basketball Andre, right?
Yeah.
Should we be concerned? 3 games, 3 fumbles. Now, listen, part of it could be the workload. He's just been out there a ton. He's had a ton of carries. Maybe he's exhausted. I don't know. But, this stat has been an issue for him for a few years, right? You had the Cincinnati game. Was it 2021, the Cincy game, or 2022? 2022, right? You're going in to win that game, and he fumbles, and you lose, right? They had a game didn't they have a game in Miami where he fumbled at the end of the game they lost to? So, it's those things where I look at it and say, man, you can't have it. You can't have it, right? And again, he really, really slowed down at the end of the year last year. I wonder if
that was Damian Harris who you're thinking of.
Oh, Harris fumbled against Miami. Right?
Mac's first game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're right. Yes, you're right. Thank you. But it's those types of things where I look at it and say, is he getting tired? Is that the issue, right? And do we have to give him more spells? And so Antonio Gibson, I thought, has looked good when he's been in there. Does he have to play more, right? Does it have to be more of a 50-50 thing, right? Can Ramondre not handle 20 carries a game? I mean, against the Jets, he had 5 carries against the Jets? It's not like he would even being used a ton. And so but those types of things you just can't have it. You just can't, because And as you said, like, when you put it really well, that like the margin for error is so small on this team. You can't have a running back that's gonna be fumbling. You just can't have it. And that just it just kills you. And so I don't know if it's something I'm not going to be super concerned about the rest of the year, but I certainly hate to see it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way it stays this bad. I'm assuming some of this is just bad luck, but it is a trend for him. This is 10 career fumbles in 4 years.
Yeah,
that's including some years where he didn't play all that much. So it's already 3 this year. His career high is 4, and that was in 2022, the year with that Bengals fumble. So I think that it almost gives him a leeway of 1 or 2. The rest of the way, you really don't want to see more than that. He's an incredibly talented back. This doesn't seem to be a workload problem with him.
Right.
I think he just seems to be a little bit fumble prone. I mean, he didn't get a ton of work his rookie year. I mean, he got some. He got 133 attempts. Still 2 fumbles, 210 the next year, 4 fumbles. He's at 52 with 3 already. So I think it's unlikely to stay at this pace. And I think a degree of this is bad luck, but you got to hold on to the ball better. And he's been very lucky not to have given one away before last Thursday.
Right. Agreed. So, we'll see. But again, it's like, if you're going to hang your hat on the running game, right, and then you're going to come out and fumble, it's like, well, you can't hang your head on the running game and then turn the ball over in the running game. It just can't happen. And so, we'll see kind of how it goes. But then again, against the Jets, you didn't hang your head on the running game at all. He had 6 carries on Thursday night. So, and part of that is because you were trailing and the defense wasn't playing well at the beginning there. So that certainly could be part of it. You just didn't have the ball enough to give him the ball a lot. Because they only had, how many drives did they have in the first half? 5? Did they even have 5 drives in the first half?
I thought it was 4.
So it's just you're just not getting the ball. You go 3 and out on the first drive, and you're like, oh crap, okay, we've ran 3 plays so far, right? And then it's like, all right, now it's like the second quarter, and we're on our second drive, and we're running play number 5. Like it's just, and so it's just not it's not great. And look, I think we kind of knew the hard thing is that we knew the offense was going to look like this. We knew the offense was going to suck. We knew it. Right? We looked at it and said they don't have the players. And we talked about Tyquan Thornton making the team. And Tyquan Thornton was the second best receiver on the team. Right? At least at the time. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's not something good about Tyquan Thornton. That's something bad about the Patriots wide receiving core. Because Tyquan Thornton is not I'm not convinced that Tyquan Thornton's a real NFL receiver. I do think he's better than I would rather see him on the field than see KJ Osborne on the field. But I still like, he's got that crazy speed and he can't separate. So it's like, what do you want? What are you trying to do?
Well, the real issue I think for him is that despite being tall with long arms, he's not great at the catch point.
Right.
So you can't target him even when it's a little bit close. Like, it needs to be really accurate when you're getting him the ball. And I think he'd be useful as a wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 5. Like, I look at what someone like Tutu Atwell does for the Rams, and I think Tyquan, they're both thin, but Tyquan has a very different build. It's just being a taller guy. So I don't think the size comparison works. But in terms of role, I think they can be similar. So I think he can be an NFL guy. On a good team, though, he's not more than wide receiver 4. That's for sure. And that part is tough. I thought Jalen Polk again had some good moments on Thursday. Pop Douglas, get the ball in his hands in space and he can do things. He's not a bad player. I think that trio of Polk, Pop, and Bourne, when Bourne is back, can be real.
Okay, right, yeah.
And if it's those 3, if it's those 3 with Tyquan as your 4th right now, and hopefully Javon Baker earns his way into this rotation at some point and can take that 4 spot. But I think that's what you want to see. But I feel optimistic about some of these receivers. I think Pop and Polk can be good guys, real NFL receivers, but it's so hard to evaluate with the offensive line right now because
that's the issue. That's the issue. And one thing I'll say that I think, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, and I feel like people, it's gotten to a little bit of a crescendo on Friday. I think, where people were fire wolf, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and what did he do with the offensive line, and oh my God, and blah, blah, and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, I think that he probably could have signed someone other than Chooks this offseason, right? But like all of the guys that were available were at Chooks' level. It's not like there was anyone good available at left tackle, right? And then it was, well, they should have targeted someone in the draft, right? And again, so that means you're not taking Drake Maye. If you're taking Joe Alt, you're not taking Drake Maye, right? So that's a whole nother argument, right? I know Murph, who was on Thursday night, wanted them to take Joe Alt at 3, right, and pass on the quarterback. And look, if that's your opinion, that's okay. I'm okay with that opinion. But for what they did, and that it's hard to fault them for going after a guy they think is going to be a franchise quarterback. Who else are they going to tackle? Who else are they going to draft a tackle? No one. There's nobody else, right? Maybe you say, okay, Kingsley. They should draft Kingsley. He's already gotten benched. Right? Everyone that was Patrick Paul, 0 snaps played so far.
It's very hard to find offensive tackles outside of the top 20, 25 picks.
Right.
And listen, take it at the end of the first round, where the Patriots did for a long time, can be hard. They
100%.
They would trade up for tackles at points, or they took guys in the second and coached them up.
Yep. And I think Tyler Guyton is a good example of this. He went 29 to Dallas, and he's been playing in Dallas. He's been okay. The Patriots had a trade with the Bills for 28, and the Bills turned him down and took the Chiefs deal. Now, supposedly that was for a wide receiver, and I believe them. I believe the people that say it was for a wide receiver, but maybe it was for Tyler Guyton. And if it was for a guy like Guyton, they said, well, I mean, if that's the case, then they would have gotten their guy, right? But unfortunately,
he was also a right tackle to left tackle convert, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and
he's a guy that played right tackle only. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear the front office missed this offseason.
Yeah.
So I think a guy like a Jermaine Luminor probably helps you compared to what they have right now in tackle. Agree. But it's not an unforgivable miss.
Patriots legend Jermaine Luminor, by the way.
Exactly. You really, especially when you know that you have guys like Lowe and Wheatley in the building who you wanted to at least try to develop and see what they turn into. Calvin Anderson, who you had liked the year before, so you want to see what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
You're really only signing one other tackle when you're trying to draft someone and you think Mike Onwenu is going to be a tackle, because there's only so many snaps to go around.
Right.
They used it on Chukwuemeka for. It didn't work. I think there were good reasons to pick him as the guy that they wanted. Didn't work. So they are where they are right now, and you got to find ways to get through this season and make it better. There is no path through this right now for this season without internal development. That means guys like Mike Onwenu playing at a higher level. He needs to be an exceptional player on the offensive line for you. He's barely an average one right now, if that. David Andrews, he's got to find something there.
Right.
And he's dealing with an injury, so maybe he's still dealing with it, but maybe he is in better shape now with a little time off. He can play a little bit better. The rest of these guys, we're talking about young players. We're talking about a trio of young guards. We're talking about a young tackle, Caden Wallace. We're talking about a young tackle, Vidarian Lowe. Scott Peters, prove your worth. It's not going to be fixed this week. It's not going to be fixed by the time you're in London. Can you get this from the 32nd offensive line to the 31st offensive line by London? Can you get it to the 29th offensive line by the end of the season? Not hoping for anything more than that at this point. Show improvement. Show that your strike technique stuff sounds great on paper. It's not working right now.
Right.
So either teach it better or make it work, or whatever it takes to make this line more functional than it has been. Mental stuff for the guards, having more awareness out there about what's going on around them on the field. You just got to be better there. Got to react quicker. Got to play faster. There's aspects of this that are fixable. My biggest concern is that I think even if you max out what they have with this offensive line, forget left tackle, I'm not sold that they are good enough at a lot of different spots to run the things that they want to run. Because I really think they miss having agility on the interior of the line. I do wonder if you look at a situation where you're going to be trying Cole Strange at center. I know that has been talked about. I think having mobility there would be pretty big for you, especially, they want to play when they go into their power run sets. They want to play a lot of duo, which means, the center and the guard are going to combine to block one guy, and the guard and the tackle on the other side are going to combine to block one guy. And when your center's mobile, that's better because it means he can help block one of the defensive tackles, and then he's going to go block a linebacker after. He's quick enough to get there and make it work. And when you want to run outside zone, your center is pretty much always immediately trying to get to a linebacker, usually someone like the weak side linebacker, and block him and cut him off, which gives you that backside running lane for a running back to cut back. Right now, David Andrews is just not quick enough to do these things. Maybe it looks a little bit better if he gets healthier, but it's rough right now. And Andrews has gotten a little bit worse with each of the last couple seasons. Love the dude. He's a captain for a reason. He is the heart of this team in many ways and one of the holdovers from the dynasty era. I don't like that we're here right now, but he is one of the problems on the line.
100%. 100%. And I think that, you have to look at that and admit to it that he is one of the reasons that they're struggling right now. I think part of the problem with the free agent class this year is that Jermaine Illuminor is the guy that we're talking about. We wish they had gotten, which Jermaine Illuminor, that's the guy. So, that's the issue for me is that, it's, it's not like it was getting fixed this year. I will again say last year was the year. Last year was the year. There's no reason why they didn't sign Mike McGlinchey or Jawan Taylor. No reason. Zero reason. You can't tell me a reason that they didn't. And so I look at it and say, what are we doing? You should have signed one of those guys last year, and you didn't. And so that to me is an issue, right? We had an opportunity to get after that, and we couldn't do it, right? To fix it a little bit last year.
Chose not to.
Chose not to, right? Chose not to. Chose to draft a backup center over a potential right tackle in DeJuan Jones. Now, again, DeJuan Jones isn't playing right now, but he played last year, and he played okay last year. Would he be the guy that would fit the system? Maybe not. Chose not to sign a guy. Drafted a guy who played guard in college and then thought you could put him at tackle. He didn't play tackle in college, and we thought, no, he can stay that. He played guard in college. And then you sit there and say, well, yeah, we can play tackle. No, he can't. He didn't play guard. He didn't play tackle in college. You insane? And we really tried that out. It's complete lunacy. And so to ignore the position for so long was a mistake, right? And TJ says that, we look a little silly having drafted a wide receiver at 34, which, by the way, it's 37 because they traded back. But the point stands, right?
High second, yeah.
Right, high second round pick. But, he's not wrong. However, you also need wide receivers, right? You need them both.
I feel a lot better about the wide receiver core now with Polk in it than I did at this point last year. They have a young receiver who has shown something early, despite poor quarterback play and despite atrocious offensive line play. I feel happy with that pick because the other thing, like you said, there just really weren't tackles who we like to make an immediate impact there. You only pick players on the board. If you could pick a tackle who could help fix their offensive line issue right now at 37, then I would agree, TJ, that drafting a wide receiver there looks a little bit silly, but that's just I don't think that was an option.
100%.
So forth.
So just for some context, Tyler Guyton gets drafted at 29. Okay. Mm-hmm. After Tyler Guyton, the next offensive tackle taken was Patrick Pollard, 55. Right, and then it went Pollard 55.
He hasn't played at all, has he?
Hasn't, 0 snaps. Blake Fisher at 59, who hasn't really played well. Roger Rosengarten hasn't played well for Baltimore when he's been in there. Kingsley at 63 got benched by Kansas City already, right? Brandon Coleman in Washington, I don't think he's done anything. He got drafted the pick before Caden Wallace.
He played well for Washington on the Monday night.
Monday night. So he's maybe just turned the corner a bit.
I do wonder if that's a Bengals issue too. I'm almost more concerned after Monday night than I am after Thursday night because that Bengals defense did not look good. And the Patriots still didn't score very much against them. And if that's how the Bengals are going to be playing, that win does not feel like a good one at this point.
I totally agree. So anyway, then you get to Caden Wallace. But the point is that at 34 or 37, you weren't getting an offensive tackle that was going to help you right now. And so the best thing you could do is draft a wide receiver, right?
Yeah,
what do you say?
I think if you had hindsight, you're trading up to get Coleman with what we've seen through 3 weeks, a small sample size. But that was what made this draft so tough was the run on tackles and the way it happened.
Yeah.
Right before the Patriots picked, it puts you in a tough spot because the teams that you'd be trading with to try to trade up are the ones that want the tackles. They're not going to move with you.
Right.
They move pretty far up to go get guys. And it's just a tough situation, you gotta play the values correctly, and you don't want to give up. This team has a lot of holes. You don't want to be trading up too much because you need as many picks as you can get to address everything. Which we talked about. They don't look at some of the picks they made. Joe Milton's not going to do anything for you here. Jaheim Bell's not getting on the field. Marcellus Dial's a special teamer. That's fun. That's all he is. You're not getting Layden Robinson has had the opportunity to win a starting job here and has not. So your day 3 picks, Caden Wallace obviously struggling. Are the guys that you've taken, and Javon Baker. These guys have not shown anything early that makes you think that, hey, we got to steal somewhere, except for Layden Robinson as a run blocker. And was he a 3rd round pick? Or was he a 4th?
No, Robinson was a fourth round pick. Yeah.
He and then Baker. Yeah. So that is a little bit concerning that it's not like there's a guy who came in. It was like, oh, wow, this guy shouldn't have gotten drafted as low as he did.
Right.
No, the guys all look about like Caden Wallace looks like somebody who they reached on with how he has played so far.
The
only guy to me who looks about as good as where he was drafted was Jalen Polk. I think he's totally fine, totally worthy of the 37th pick. May obviously is a question mark. The rest of this class is really unimpressive to me so far.
Yeah. And so, listen, we're going to have to see how it turns out. I still think one of the reasons why I think I'd like to see Wallace on the right side is because if he can be your right tackle next year, then you feel really good about that pick, right? Now, how good of a right tackle will be, I don't know. But if you feel like, okay, the kid can play and he can give us something, you feel better about that pick, right? And so, look, we'll see. But I just think that's where you have to be. And even if you only hit on a few guys, you have to hit on 2 or 3 guys every draft. You have to. And if you can hit on 4 or 5 guys, now you feel really good about it. But if you can hit on 2 or 3 guys every draft, and if this year you miss on everyone else, but you hit on Drake Maye and Jalen Polk, well, those are 2 good guys to hit on, right? So it becomes one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe we don't get a ton from the rest of everyone else, but if we can get something out of these 2 guys, that's really beneficial. Obviously, clearly the whole draft is going to revolve around Drake Maye and how good Drake Maye can be. But it is something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I will say, I think you can doom and gloom about this. It's also worth remembering that the Tom Brady draft class was awful.
Disaster
outside of Brady. They whiffed on
everything. Adrian Clem. Sheesh.
Yeah. J.R. Redmond gave him a couple good moments and was clutch in that Super Bowl, and that was about it. So it was if you hit on the quarterback, that makes everything else a lot easier. And that team, you have Ty Law, you have Richard Seymour, you have a crazy linebacker group, which is that.
Well,
could
Seymour,
be
don't forget. Seymour, don't forget, was an 01 pick, so they nailed that pick.
Yeah, and that could be, I'm not 1-to-1 here, but if you look ahead to next season and you're thinking about that when Belichick came in, the team had won 5 wins his first year, and they immediately go to 11 with a Super Bowl the next. If you look at next year, if Christian Gonzalez can rise to the level of a Ty Law type of player, Christian Barmore can be an elite defensive tackle who can replicate that Richard Seymour effect for you. I'm not worried about the linebacker group once Bentley is back with Tavai, and we'll see what Taki brings when he comes back. They said Mapu's going to play more linebacker once he's back. Let's see what we got out of that group. The safeties, I think,
which I've been shouting about since the second they drafted him, that he should be playing linebacker.
Yeah, the safeties on the 2024 New England Patriots might be better than the safeties on the 2001 New England Patriots if we're doing the comparisons there. It's just, finding something offensively. And I will say, sometimes it takes a year for that to click with the coaching. We talk about the Patriots and the offensive line not being good. There's another coach from this very same offensive line tree that moves this offseason. That's Bill Callahan, who is considered the best active offensive line coach. And he's coaching for Tennessee this year. The team had an awful offensive line last year.
Yep.
And guess what? They're still bad. They're right next to the Patriots in all of these rankings. So, I think it's not going to be good this year. Try to make it a little bit better. And this offseason, you reevaluate everything. But I do think we came into this year, and one of the open questions we had is, does Cole Strange have any future on this team? The guard play from the guys that we have seen out there has opened the door for Cole Strange to absolutely have a future on this team. And then we'll see. Like, you look ahead to next season, and the only guy who is currently on the team who I'm confident will be a week 1 starter next year on the offensive line is Mike Onwenu. I don't even know what position he's going to play.
Right. That is a good point. It's a good point. Yeah. So,
which is nice in some ways because it gives you flexibility. Like, you're not married to these guys, and if they play poorly, you can move on and look for other guys. If you draft guys and they aren't good, you keep drafting until you find good players. And if you draft enough guards in the 4th round, you're gonna find good ones. So
and that's ultimately what it comes down to, right? At some point, you're gonna hit on a Shaq Mason and a Joe Tooney. It's just gonna happen, or because you just got to do it. You know what I mean?
Or you can sign a guard too.
Right.
You can get someone. If you think Mike Onwenu is going to be your right guard, and you decided Cole Strange is going to be your center next year, you can sign a starting left guard if So and Layden Robinson aren't getting it done.
Both don't work out. Right.
And let So and Robinson battle to be your extra guard there. And the tough situation there is that then you're looking for 2 tackles. But, you just, again, you keep throwing draft picks at this stuff until something works and somebody outperforms the expectation.
Yeah.
And I will say, TD has a question here while we're on this subject. He says, how do you explain Big Mike's, what he calls the tremendous retraction of Capitals? Is the position changed, coming into camp out of shape, catching up because he's got his money? What's Big Mike's issue? I'm not going to comment on coming into camp out of shape because everything we've heard there has been kind of second, third hand stuff. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to assume he came in out of shape. But it seems like it's 2 things. Maybe 3 things. I think he has never been a great tackle. He struggles with speed rushers. He's not that quick.
Yep.
And he's always been strong with good hand placement, and that has helped him anyway. And they're teaching a new hand thing this year. Scott Peter strike system. And he's just missing with his hand placement at times. Just straight up whiffing when he's trying to block some of these guys, which I don't think we really saw last year.
Right.
I don't think the play calling has helped him there. But I do think it's learning a new system. And I do wonder if not being sure what position he's playing is part of this. Like, he switched to tackle pretty late in the training camp.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't think he looked great at guard either in the preseason.
I agree.
And I'm not, put it this way, I'm not going to assume that it is a mentality thing or an effort thing or a he got his money thing unless we get reporting on that, because I'm just not going to, for me at least, I'm not going to assault somebody's character and assume that that's what it is until we have evidence that that's what it is. I just see a guy who isn't doing the right things. Like, he's just not making the right plays with this technique. And that's a bad thing, but it's a good thing because that's an area that is fixable and coachable and the type of thing where when you can come out one week and it's fixed and you don't worry about it again.
Agreed. Yeah. One more thing, and TD brought this up too. we got to get to your ad read so we can finish off here. But,
Yeah.
one thing he asked about the Mayo comments on Drake Maye, and, Mayo basically said, we're not signing a veteran quarterback. We're rolling with the guys that we got. It's a good sign. I think it's a good sign for Mayo, for Drake Maye. I'm sorry. I think he's playing well in practice. I don't think he's there yet. I think he's playing well in practice. I think if this mini bye were, the next week, which is home against, who are they home against? Miami. Again,
Miami.
home against Miami. I think if that was the game, that he'd be starting. Now, maybe the offensive line dictates that maybe, no, you're not doing that, but I think it's coming sooner rather than later. I will say I think Jacoby Brissett is playing. He's not a very good quarterback. He's so tough. He's just so tough.
Great
And I
leader.
think he has a ton of respect from the locker room. And so the thing is that at some point the locker room's going to say, all right, like, we don't have our best quarterback out there right now. Drake Maye is clearly the better quarterback. It's not close. Like, he's obviously the better quarterback. Now, is putting him out there going to hurt his development? I don't know. Maybe you think that. But if I'm a player and I'm busting my ass on a terrible team and I'm trying to win games to make myself look good and make other things look good, and you're not even going to put our best quarterback out there, at some point I'm going to say, dude, talk whatever you want about culture, dude. Screw your culture, man, because you're making us look bad by not putting the best quarterback out there. And so,
yeah,
I don't think we're at that point yet. I do think, it was obvious to see the difference in the offense when they ran it. It just looked smoother under May. The throwing, his
simpler
throwing motion so much faster, and the ball comes out so much quicker. But I think at some point you're gonna have to go with Drake Maye, and old man Mob asked, if Kraft will back him. I think Kraft, for the most part, and listen, everyone craps on Kraft and everything, and it's fine. I think for the most part he stayed out of it, right? He has,
yeah.
And I don't see why that's going to change.
I think
He knows that this is a lost year.
Yeah.
Right. He knows that this isn't, that you're not winning this year. And if they think the best thing for his development is to not play, and they say, hey, look around the league, look at how many guys sat and didn't play for at least a good chunk of their first year, and look at those guys now. Right. And so, that's the plan. That's the plan that we have in place. Trust in the process. I think Kraft will give him the year. Now, if he come out next year and that's not the case, well, no, we're not having it. Drake Maye starting week 1 next year. Like, that's guaranteed no matter what. And, I think he's going to be starting before that. I think kind of we all do. But I think Kraft's going to back them up on that because that's their plan. And I think, he's kind of tied to them long term. And you at least have to give them a chance to see the process through. We're 3 weeks into the season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Evan Lazar, both in his column and on Patriots Unfiltered this week, made some really good arguments about playing Drake Maye on the Sooner side, which I would recommend that all of you have to go listen to or read. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing here, but a lot of it does come down to the idea that when Drake Maye is in there, the offense is going to schematically look different than it does with Jacoby Brissett. And just some of those schematic changes are going to make things easier for the offensive line. There's a couple things here, but like right now, the offense is running in play action, and defenses know that if we're under center, it's a run or a play action, and they're going to play it that way.
Right.
With Drake Maye, you're going to throw the ball a lot more often. You're going to have a regular drop backs a lot more often. So they might not be that good at it because he's a rookie quarterback who's going to be developing, but you might not see as many blitzes at the offensive line, run blitzes and pass blitzes. And then also he can run. So like if it's shotgun, you can run read option, and defenses to bring another man into the box to try to counter that. And if it's a pass, defenders have to be aware of containing the quarterback and not just rushing the quarterback.
Correct.
Because he can take advantage of lanes and pick up first downs. So areas like that, I think he can help you. I definitely get a little bit of a sense based on the press conferences that we've heard for a while that Gerard Mayo seems much more ready to play Drake Maye than the offensive coaching staff. It seems to me like Gerard Mayo sees the athleticism of Maye and the stealing and says, and thinks that we want to get him out there sooner because he can elevate the offense and help try to punish defenses for some of the aggression and some of the stuff you can only learn by playing. Meanwhile, like Alex Van Pelt, I think rightfully points out, some of Drake Maye's footwork still is not where it needs to be. And you're going to have this battle between, is he better learning on the fly, or do you want him to iron things out perfectly and then put him out there so that, some of this muscle memory is fully intact by the time he's under pressure and the bullets are flying. And I don't have, nobody has an answer for this. This is debated, and there's no one answer because it depends on the human being that you're coaching and the way that they learn and the way that they process and the way that they develop. At some point, like it is a little bit like having a kid in that there's never a perfect situation. You just got to go for it. Like sometimes you're just gonna have to put the quarterback out there. That's what's going to happen. There's never going to be a spot where you say, okay, we have the perfect quarterback molded in a lab and now we can put him out there for the first time. But, weighing that risk reward, I think is going to be very interesting here because personally, like if the offensive line is functional, if you can run an offense with it, I want to see Maye out there sooner rather than later because I think he can develop in that environment. That's my opinion as an outsider. They may not feel that way, and I want to see how this develops because, like, you get Gerard Mayo after the game talking about not being sure who's going to start the next week, not answering that question, and then once he's conferred with the coaches and watched the tape, we're rallying behind Brissett, and this is something we saw, in training camp too, kind of inconsistency day to day with his messaging on this, which tells me that his personal opinion is different from the collective consensus opinion. Between him, TC McCartney, Alex Van Pelt, Ben McAdoo, all these guys.
Right.
We have to hope that whatever decision they make is the correct one.
100%. Yeah. And listen, I've used the analogy before. You used it. You talked about it. I think it's the perfect analogy is having a kid. Anyone that has children gets it, right? And maybe people that don't even have children get it too. But like, you're never ready to have a kid. You're just not. Nothing can prepare you for having a child, right? And everything that goes along with it. There's no preparation that you can do. Now you can read the books and you can watch the shows and you can do the thing and you can study and you can go to the classes and you can do all those things, right? And you get the room and you paint the thing and you get the bassinet and you say everything and you can be ready. You're still not ready, right? No matter what. And so being a quarterback is similar, right? Where you're just not ready. I mean, he can practice for 4 years. He's still not ready until you get out there and do it, right? And the longer you do it, the better you get at it, right? And so it's kind of one of those things where you have to do it now. You're not always ready to have a kid. And sometimes you're more ready than other times, right? I was more ready at 27 to have my first kid than, the 16-year-old that's pregnant or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so we can say that, okay, yeah, you're never ready, but there are times in your life where you're more ready. And, you may look at a quarterback and say, all right, okay, yeah, he's never going to be ready, but maybe he's like really not ready and we should wait a little longer. And I don't know. But again, the way that Mayo starts talking about it right now, it feels like he's getting closer to being ready, that they feel like he's getting there. He may not be there yet, but they feel like he's getting there. And I wonder if the offensive line wasn't such a problem, if he would be starting this week.
Especially with the long break.
Right.
I think we'd be seeing him much sooner. The other thing too, like they're giving him a lot of reps in practice. And I do wonder if that's one of the reasons why Jacoby looks as rough as he does at times, because
that's possible.
Brissett's not getting the full practice reps that a starting quarterback usually gets. You'd hope that for a veteran who's run this offense before, wouldn't be as big of a deal. But like, I don't know, you're trying to do your job and you got to share 30% of the work you're doing with the guy who's training under you, but then you're responsible for the final product. You're going to be, it's going to look a little bit different. So we'll see we'll see how that develops. I do think we should see Maye sooner if he's ready enough, and hopefully you got to San Francisco. You look a lot different mentally, you look tougher physically. You're able to
Right.
execute things better. I don't care about win or loss. Show you can execute some stuff.
Correct. Yes.
And
so you feel
if
better.
you do
about it,
that,
you know what I mean?
if you do that, I think you can come back home and say, Drake, you're starting week 5.
Right. Yeah. And, some of us have been saying week 5 all along. Again, my dad, who's going to London, who, has a vested interest in it, still thinks that it's going to be London. I think that's a little crazy, but you never know. I think it could be before London. The only week I would rule out would be, what's that, week 8 when they're coming back from London. I feel like that'd be insane to throw him in that week as his first career start. But outside of that, I could see any of those next few weeks. So, all right, let's do our last ad read, and then we'll go through our picks and our draft, our prize picks, and get people the heck out of here.
Yeah, and speaking of these games coming up, let's say you want to go, make sure that you are at Drake Maye's first start. Maybe it's week 5 when the Patriots host the Dolphins. Maybe it's week 6 when the Patriots host the Texans, wearing their nice throwback uniforms. Maybe you want to take a trip across the pond to London to see that one. We all love going to see football live, and Game Time, it makes that easier than ever. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. For those games, you can get some tickets nice and cheap. You can find a super deal on any of these tickets. Just go see the Patriots live. Go watch this young rookie class as they develop and start a new era here in New England. And you can use all-in pricing. The price you see is the price you pay. You can see the view from your seat. It's a lowest price guarantee. So go use Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Create an account and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
All right. Nice. All right. You want to do our picks? Let's do our picks.
The results from last week.
Yep.
We were both 4 for 4.
I was so close. I was so close. I couldn't in good conscience pick the Jets. I just couldn't do it. I knew the Patriots were going to lose. I just couldn't do it. But the other ones, I thought the Packers one was a layup, dude. The Titans are so bad this year. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I thought the Titans, might be competitive in that one, but yeah, the Packers team's good. Then Seahawks Dolphins went the way we expected. Chiefs Falcons closer than we expected.
Sure was.
Jaguars Bills was not close one bit. And Doug Peterson, your seat is red hot.
Man, that team sucks. And Trevor Lawrence, they just suck. Like, I don't understand, and I didn't get it at the time, but I don't understand why they gave him the money they gave him. I don't know what you saw from Trevor Lawrence that made you say, we have to give this guy $55 million this year. He's got one more year left on his deal. I would have paid him the 5th-year option, and I would have said, let's see what happens the next 2 years, and then we'll give you your money. Right? Or at least let's see what happens this year before we lock you up for, 4 more years and $200 and whatever million. Like, that's wild to me. So, not my money. Not my team. I don't care. But, man, he looks real bad. Like, real bad. Like Mac Jones last year bad. That interception in the end zone was a Mac Jones throw from last year is what that throw was.
Here's the thing with Trevor. I don't think Trevor is this bad. I think the coaching staff is this bad. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is worth the money that he got, but the offense does not look coordinated in any way. And I think it should be better than it was, or at least as good as it was last year. I don't know. If it was just a quarterback who was worse, then I'd blame Trevor, but it seems like everybody got worse.
You're not wrong about that. What if next year that Bill brings the band back together? It's Belichick, the head coach, McDaniel's the offensive coordinator.
No.
Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator. Because Josh McDaniels now still doesn't have a job. So McDaniels gets the OC job. Patricia gets the DC job. And all of a sudden, we're back in business. You know what I mean?
Mac Jones finally gets Josh McDaniels back.
Oh, my Lord, dude. Mac Jones would be fired into the sun if that were the case from them.
The Jaguars, like it's the 2017 Eagles team coached by Doug Peterson looks like more and more of an anomaly for him.
Total fluke.
We get away from it. Like, I don't want that happen, man.
Which sucks that the Patriots lost that team. But anyways.
Nick Foles just went on a heater.
Sure did. All right. Let's go to week 4. Yeah, let's do it.
Records there. I still have a 1-game edge. I'm 11-4. You are 10-5.
Which is respectable for me because usually I'm terrible.
Yeah, this isn't too bad. Obviously, we're not going against the spread here.
This is the week. This is the week that's going to decide things because we have a lot of differences and some of mine are
this is a fun little
questionable picks.
But let's start off with the first Thursday night game here. Cowboys at Giants, back-to-back weeks with a Thursday night game right here at the Meadowlands. Right nearby where I am. Who's taking this?
This one's an obvious one. I'm going Giants here because the Giants, obviously, I'm just kidding. No, I'm going Cowboys. Hello, like, it's the Cowboys. Like, let's get serious. The Giants are terrible. We all know they're terrible. Don't overthink it. Just take the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The Giants have been better than I expected in some ways this year. Malik Neighbors is good. The Cowboys have stunk this year, but even then, the talent differential between these teams is, I think it's immense, and the Cowboys should win this game.
Yep, agreed. Next one, Andy Dalton revenge game, but I mean, I just can't pick the Panthers. I can't do it. The Bengals are 0-3. They cost me a spot in my knockout pool. There was 18 teams left in the knockout pool, starting at like 120. $10 a pop, so it was like $1,200 a pot, and I picked the Bengals on Monday night and lost. I was like, "Come on, dude!" And so not great, but I believe in the Bengals this week. I have to believe in the Bengals. I think Andy Dalton will come back to earth, even though it is the Andy Dalton revenge game.
Yeah, this is Panthers 1:00 game on Sunday. It's a very interesting game, given that both Bengals are still winless at this point.
Yeah.
Against the Panthers team that finally showed life with Andy Dalton last week on the road against the Raiders. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Panthers won. But the Bengals are more talented.
Yeah.
Like at some point that has to turn into a win for you. You've also gotten a little unlucky at points here. And that Bengals defense is just a truth. This is why it ended up being a higher scoring game than anybody expected coming in.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Commanders at Cardinals. I'm
4:00 slot here. Yeah.
Yep. Commanders haven't punted in 2 weeks. Literally haven't punted in 2 weeks. I can't possibly pick against them. I think the Cardinals stink. Kyle Murray's had a rough year. And so I'm going the commies.
I'm going the other way on this one. Give me the Arizona Cardinals at home here. I like this Cardinals team. I think this will end up being a pretty fun game. 2 quarterbacks that are mobile, like to create plays. 2 defenses that are suspect. And it should be a high-scoring game, in my opinion. We'll get some highlight reel plays. I'm going to take the home team here. I don't think we're not going to get that from Jay Daniels every week. He's a rookie. Kyler Murray, I think, is still a better quarterback at this point. And I like the Cardinals coaching a lot better than I like the Commanders coaching, too. So I know that game Monday night, shout out to Jaden Daniels, who was literally like fighting his offensive coordinator just to do everything because they're trying to go for it on 4th down. Like the play call wasn't getting in time. He's yelling at the coaches to tell them what the play is. And then after that, he's yelling to the sideline, telling them get the plays in faster. Like you got a rookie with the poise to do that and handle that scenario. And what are you doing, Cliff? What are you doing, Cliff?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I still believe that Drake Maye will end up having a better career than Jaden Daniels, but my goodness, he can play ball. He can play ball. He has showed out the last 2 weeks. Obviously, this week, the most, but he played really well last week too. So, he's going to have his bad games because he's a rookie. But my concern was always how much can he hold up long term. But But he's played great so far, and so if you're
yeah.
a Washington fan, you should be happy with where you're at right now.
Yeah.
So all right,
Sunday night game.
yep, Sunday night Bills and Ravens. I'm going Ravens here. It's insane. It makes no sense because the Ravens play the Bills hard and they lose every time they play them. Even though they play them hard, they find a way to lose at the end. The Bills find a way to win at the end. That's kind of the Ravens' MO, and it has been since Lamar got there. Is that they play really well and they're in games till the end and then they lose. And so but I decided to go Ravens because I said, you know what, the Bills played so well on Monday Night Football that I feel like after you play a game that good, similar to Daniels, after you play a game that good that you're going to come back down to earth a little bit. The Ravens are kind of struggling a little bit, right? They're 1-2. Finally got their first win last week.
They tried to lose the last game.
They really did. They really did. And Lamar actually called the coaching out at the end of the game, which was interesting. So I just think that the Ravens have to have this one. And I think they can pull it out at the end.
Yeah. I'm going the other way here. I think the Bills pull the upset on the road. I don't know if it is an upset. I don't know if the betting line is. But
I bet you the Bills are favored. Maybe I'm wrong, but I bet you the Bills are favored.
I think the real difference in this game is going to be that the Bills have a good offensive line and the Ravens do not. And that,
fair point.
I think that's the difference in this type of game. Ravens at home, and they're all blacks for Sunday Night Football here, by the way, which I love those uniforms. Those are so cool. But
you know what? Ravens minus 2.5. How about that?
Ravens are favored. That's surprising.
Just because the home game. So it's really
not be favored on neutral.
Vegas has it as a toss up. You typically get 3 points at home. So
so the Bills would be favored on a neutral site, which I think is fair. But I think the Bills are more than 1 point better than the Ravens. Anyway, I think this is just as a side note here on the Bills. People talked a lot about what are they going to do without Stephon Diggs. They have a very, very good offensive line that they have invested into for the last couple of years. And I don't know, I hate saying this, but this in some ways reminds me of the evolution of the Patriots from around 2010, 2011.
Right. Yep.
It's it wasn't a superstar, but they had Gronk. But Gronk was young, and it's just they had a great offensive line, quarterback who makes good decisions, can make every throw on the field, and can run and be a threat. And Khalil Shakir is almost their Julian Edelman right now. The way he plays out there, Keon Coleman has made plays for them. They got a pair of tight ends that are good, and they can run the ball. They do not miss Stephon Diggs at all. This was the evolution. This is the direction they were trying to go, and it's come together. And the fact that you got the quarterback who might be the hardest quarterback to tackle in the NFL in Josh Allen, when you take into account his size and speed, behind an offensive line that makes him hard to get to and that can run the ball. And that's just such a dangerous combo because he has all limited time back there. It seems to find the guy he wants to throw to.
Listen, I will take a Bills Super Bowl if it means the Chiefs not winning again. That's insane. Takes a lot. That takes a lot. But I would gladly take a Bills Super Bowl instead of a Chiefs one. So we'll see. Last game, Seahawks at Lions. This is one of the Monday night games. Another Monday night doubleheader. The other one is the terrible Miami-Tennessee game, which nobody wants to see.
A repeat of last year's. Riller with the Titans pulling a comeback win.
Yes. So no one wants to see that game. This game should be a fun game. I think this is going to be – I don't know if it's going to be super high scoring because I think Seattle has a very good defense, and I think Detroit has a pretty good defense too, although the defense is a little bit banged up right now. But I'm going Detroit at home against Seahawks. I think that they have enough offensive firepower to pull this one off.
The Lions, by the way, also breaking out their all-black throwbacks.
Yep. With the blue helmets.
The blue helmet. I like the one that they have.
It's going to look sweet.
Pants better, I think. Although it does kind of look like also a Carolina Panthers alternate uniform.
You're not wrong.
But if you get past that, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Either way here, I think we get a Seahawks road victory. I like the Seahawks team a lot. I had a lot of questions about them coming into the season, and they have answered almost every single one of them for me. Geno Smith has played at a high level. I question this Lions defense a little bit. And outside of Aiden Hutchinson, The offense, I don't think, has been quite as good as we expected. And Jared Goff has been a little bit of a letdown this year. And
Yeah.
I think it's a good game, but I kind of think Seattle goes in there and gets the upset win on Monday Night Football.
I like it. I do think Seattle's 3-0. At some point, that bubble's going to burst. It may not be this week, but I do think at some point, like rookie head coach, Geno Smith still your quarterback, like at some point that bubble's going to burst. And so that's one of the reasons why I picked the Lions, but I could certainly see, I wouldn't be shocked if the Seahawks won this game. And so we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Is it Prize Picks time?
Prize Picks. Let's do it. So I talked about mine already, but I will read it to you again because I think it's worth reading to you again. Of course, listen, it's the last weekend. I'm just reminding everyone, it's the last weekend. They're giving you a free win. Caleb Williams, more than 0.5 passing yards. If he throws one passing yard, you win, right? You would be dumb not to take it. Okay? So I'm going to play multiple lineups this week. And on each lineup, I'm going to put in Caleb Williams because number one, it's the last weekend you can do it. And number two, it makes sense. It just adds a little bit extra multiplier to your money. So I'm going Caleb Williams with more than 0.5 passing yards. I'm going A.T. Perry. Popped up on the Prize Pick site today. Not sure why A.T. Perry popped up on the Prize Pick site. I assume he had a few catches last week. But I have zero faith that they'll be able to get him the ball again. I'm going with less than 28.5 receiving yards. And Devontae Adams, I'm going with more than 5 receptions. I think that they're going to do what they can to work him in and get him the ball as much as they possibly can. I think it was a disaster last week. And you can go from there. By the way, A.T. Perry doesn't have a catch this year. So I'm very confused about why he's even on the list. Did someone get hurt in New Orleans? I don't think so.
Not that I know of.
I mean, Rashid Shaheed didn't catch a pass last week, but I don't. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Yep. All right. My Prize picks of the week. We are going to start with a Jets wide receiver. That's going to be Allen Lazard for more than 2.5 receptions. I think Aaron Rodgers likes to throw his way. Garrett Wilson's going to get a ton of attention. This week in particular seems like the kind of week where you're going to see Allen Lazard get involved. That's my pick. My pick there. That's against the Broncos with Pat Surtain. So they're going to do what they can to take away Garrett Wilson there, and I think Allen Lazard is going to pick up the slack. My other pick, I'm going to a Saints wide receiver here. Give me Rashid Shaheed, more than 43.5 receiving yards. He's a big play threat. I love watching him play. I like taking the more than here because then you get to watch and root for a Saints big play. And
absolutely.
That crazy play over the top to Shaheed where he's just blowing the top off a defense. This is at Atlanta. It's a defense that hasn't been overwhelming or anything. And there's going to be real opportunities for the Saints to move the ball. So, those are mine. Allen Lazard, more than 2.5 receptions. Rashid Shaheed, more than 43.5 receiving yards.
Love it. So there you go. There you have it. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We're going late into the night here on Wednesday night.
Earning the minute.
Dang right. Almost literally. So anyways, thanks for coming through. We appreciate you guys. And as always, we're going to be live on Sunday night. So this game is a 4:00 game. And so we will again be live at halftime of Sunday Night Football. I'm sorry. And so that will be, it's going to kind of be our weekly thing for a while at least. We might go halftime of the 4:00 games when they're in London because that's an early game.
True.
But those the next two after this week are home games. So I'll be there. So we'll be doing the late night show anyways. So anyways, that's what we got. So
it's nice. Well, we got to enjoy last Sunday with no Patriots football.
We did.
Went apple picking. I got a fresh apple pie with what?
Me too. I went apple picking on Sunday morning too.
And I got a apple pie. You know, I got myself ready to go for tonight's episode by eating a massive slice of apple pie with
Love it.
vanilla ice cream right before this. I'm gonna be making some apple recipes later this week, and then Sunday it's the 4 o'clock game, so you get some time earlier in the day.
Yep.
When the lunch game happens, we're gonna get time late in the day. Then
Little red zone.
yeah, and then other than that, I think just straight up 1 o'clocks for most of the season until we get to the bye in mid-December.
Which I hate. The 1 o'clock games are fine at home. I hate the 1 o'clock games, like at the stadium. I love the 4 o'clock games. If I could choose, I would have all the games be 4 o'clock games. I love having 4 o'clock games at home. I just think it's like the perfect time, and especially as it gets darker out earlier, then you're talking about like before halftime, it's dark out. And, and I like that because it feels like a night game, but it's not a night game. You're not getting out at midnight. You're getting out at, 7:30, which is nice. So,
can I very quickly here air just a particular beef that I have?
Do it.
One of my least favorite things about playing Madden is that when you play franchise mode, 1 o'clock games look like 1 o'clock games, 4 o'clock games look like 4 o'clock games, whatever, for the whole season.
Right.
That's not how it is. When you're playing a 4 o'clock game in December, that's basically a night game.
It's
aesthetic.
fair.
That's how that's going to look. The shadows get longer, it gets darker earlier. When you play MLB The Show, you can pick which month of the season it is, and it'll look a little different depending on which month it is. Madden, please give us that for football.
Yeah, figure it out. Figure it out, Madden.
And do that if they also don't have the time zones figured out at all for franchise games. It doesn't make any sense. Just please make it work because it ruins immersion a little bit for someone like I'm very particular about this. When it's like a 1 o'clock or when you get a 4 o'clock game in the week 17 and it looks like, a summer sunset.
I get it. I'm with you. I understand. I don't notice those things like you do. But I get it. I get it. I stand in solidarity.
Now you will. Now that I have said it,
you're probably right. I will be paying
it.
attention to it. You're right about that. That's a good point. So, all right, now we're done. I know we've aired some grievances. It's not even December yet. So, but thank you as always for showing up and coming through and asking some quick questions, keeping the chat going, and we'll be back with you on Sunday night after the Patriots play the 49ers. Hopefully they look competent in some way. We'll see what happens. So, but either way, we'll talk to you then, guys. One thing I forgot to mention. Shoot, I started and I forgot. Scott asked about how are those cold showers going. My wife said the same thing to me. The cold shower thing was because they won the first weekend. I said I was going to do it until they lost. So I did it that first week after they won that first game. And then I haven't done it since because they haven't won since. But if they had pulled out that victory against Seattle, I would have had a whole nother week. Well, I guess it wouldn't have been a full week, but I would have had another few days of cold showers before the Jets game. But because that was me saying if there's a cold, if they win, the cold shower thing is working for Drake Maye. Maybe it'll work for me. So I'll take cold showers as well. So
did not work.
Did not work for the Patriots, but maybe it will. Maybe I'll go back to it. I kind of liked it. I kind of liked the cold showers, so
not bad.
Maybe I'll go back to it a little bit. We'll see. Yeah. So, but anyways, all right. Well, thanks, guys. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys on Sunday night.